her team at NOPD to close a critical loophole in our ordinance in terms of careless storage of firearms.
Yes.
I'll just start really quickly by giving kind of the public health background, and then she's going to launch into what she and her team sees and why this is really unfortunate. So when we look sort of nationally at gun ownership, what the statistics tell us is that more than half of all gun owners store at least one gun unsafely. And that means there's no locks, no safe storage, not out of the reach of children. That is a tremendous amount of guns that are unsafe, not just from a public health perspective, but also lend themselves to being stolen and used in other crimes. We know that in Louisiana, in New Orleans, and in the country, that gun homicides are the #1 leading cause of children. In Louisiana, we have the highest rate in the country of accidental shootings of children, and not surprisingly, the least restrictive storage laws. Where you have more stringent storage laws, you see a real impact on the number of accidental shootings, and that really should be common sense. Lock their firearms and their ammunition, there is an 85% lower risk of unintentional injuries among children and teens compared to those that were just storing it unsafely. So we know that we have a major, major problem with gun violence, particularly with gun violence among our youth and our children. And we have to look for every available means to reduce the incredible burden. And so Lieutenant Celius has been working with this and researching this for years, and is going to present to you on one of the solutions. This is not everything, but it is one step in the solution.
Thank you. Lieutenant.
Good morning, council members. Thank you
For the record, state your name and your position.
Sure. Lieutenant Sheila Celius. I'm assigned to New Orleans Police Department Special Victim Division that encompasses sex crimes, child abuse, domestic violence, sex offender registration unit, and our social services unit. I've been a part of the police department for 25 years. Also, I have with me my captain, Captain Joseph Wackenspec. He's here for support. As I mentioned earlier, thank you for allowing us to present this, and hopefully there will be some type of revision to Ordinance 5428 and 54336. Working with the Child Abuse Unit in the year 2021, there were 9 kids that had access to a loaded handgun in a household and in vehicles where they shot themselves. They shot other juveniles, and we had some cases where kids also died. Not just small kids, but also teenagers too. They're curious, right? And what we're looking for is not to find another ordinance to put our citizens in jail. It's our hope that we don't have to use this ordinance, because that means that the great work that Dr. Wagner and her team is doing by offering gun locks, offering preventive education on how to store the weapon will do the job. If that gets done, then we don't need to use this ordinance. But the problem is when we have cases where we cannot prove criminal intent, negligent homicide, and those type of things, then we're looking at carelessness. There's an awesome ordinance that covers it, 54336, but there's no teeth to it, right? We are kind of bound to issue summonses, but there's no jail time, there's no fine, there's nothing. And so what we have is kids that are permanently disabled, kids that are traumatized, hearing a loud gunshot, feeling responsible that they hurt one of their siblings or a mate that have come to spend a night. There's no consequence for the gun owners. So what we're hoping is, if the preventive measures don't work on the front end, then there's some type of deterrence on the back end to make people realize if you leave your gun on the bed, in the kitchen drawer, in the car console while you're leaving the car unattended, there's going to be a consequence for leaving these guns unattended. One of the things that bothers me a lot, Council Member Thomas, is watching my detectives, my social workers, looking at these kids injured, seeing them, because the first thing a kid wants to do when they see a gun is they turn it and they're looking at it through the barrel, and we get a lot of gunshot headshots, right? We just had one in the 4th district, I think was a graze to the head, right? That's the first thing you want to do is look at through the barrel, and they have to see this. They're affected by it. And then what they tell me is, Lieutenant, because the gun owner, the parent was careless, we couldn't prove criminal intent. There's nothing, and this kid has to live with this trauma, this incident for the rest of their lives. So again, it's not our intent to put any citizen, any hardworking parent in jail. It's to offer a deterrence for them to take the extra step to put their gun away where their kids cannot get a hold of it and prevent another lost life.
And also let the record reflect that Councilmember King is now part of the meeting. Swag is back. Officer.
Yes, Councilman. Another thing, Sheila, the one we had not long ago, is not only the homeowner or the gun owner. We had an instance where somebody comes visit. They come visit some people and takes the gun out, puts it between us, the cushion on the sofa. And that's when the little boy finds it, shoots himself. So what Sheila's saying is that some type of consequences to everybody who mishandled the firearm, and it leads to an injury. I mean, the homeowners didn't even know this guy had a gun. He comes visit and he takes the gun out, puts it in the sofa, and that's where the little boy found it. So not only for the homeowner or the gun owner, but anyone who's careless that leads to an injury, he needs to have some type of there needs to be some kind of recourse, that there a penalty, like to not to lock it up, to put in their mind, you will go to jail or there will be consequences for your actions. And that's what Sheila's talking about, needs to be done. Like,
Thank you.
so I appreciate your efforts and hearing this today. And I know the work y'all do, y'all will do something.
Well, I think that the information, only half of the guns that are stored unsafely potentially wind up being used in some type of unsafe incident, and that Louisiana has the highest rates and the least restrictive storage rate. So that data proves right there that we need to do something here in Louisiana, and especially in New Orleans. And then the other number, I mean, just nine kids recently, being victims of gunshot discharges that could have easily been avoided had it not been in the vicinity or been stored safely away from adults. Any comments from the dais? Councilmember Harris. Yes.
Thank you all. Dr. Vegna, can you talk about the city's effort in providing lock boxes, biometric locks to guns for free, right? I mean, people can get these things for free so they can safely store their guns.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. We've been doing a lot of work, and I just want to shout out to my team, Jocelyn Pinkerton and Jeannie Donovan, who've been really spearheading this. We are attempting to make the first purchase of the biometric lock boxes. There's a little hiccup in the purchasing process, but we're sallying forward. We've also joined forces with Children's Hospital, who have been an amazing partner, who are going to basically match what we're doing in terms of the boxes themselves. Also working with NOPD, who has access to cable locks that, while less attractive to many owners, still have a role to play. So as soon as we get the boxes in hand, which will be very soon, I'm sorry, we are also finalizing the education materials with the state that we're going to flood the community with. We have begun to schedule or to join neighborhood engagement events, community events in each district. I'm happy to say that we're starting in B and E because those were the ones on the calendar. Council members Green and King, do not worry. We are not forgetting about you, but we already had B and E. So those will be really our kickoffs. One is in April and one is in May, and I forget which one is first. Those we're really going to use as the pilot to see, is the demand what we think it is for these kind of devices? If so, then we have additional funds coming to us to ramp it up. And also we're going to hopefully have additional funds for a much larger, more consistent campaign. And Children's independently is going to be doing a big campaign out of their facilities, out of the emergency departments. So we are really close. Next month, you're going to see those events start. I'm really excited about that.
Thank you. Councilmember King.
Good morning. Good morning. What constitutes proper storage of a firearm?
Yeah, the definition of storage.
In a nutshell, if you have a loaded weapon and you know that there are kids in the vicinity, the proper storage will make sure that they don't have access to it. Placing it high enough where they can't reach it, making sure you don't have it somewhere where a curious teenager know where it is so that they can go and locate it. In this day and time, we have, guns. It's interesting, right? And it makes teenagers look cool, and kids see it on TV. They're interested. They want to see how it works, right? So getting gun locks, getting gun safes, and we have a lot of citizens who have purchased these things. We have had cases where we had a mother who purchased a gun lock, a gun safe, had it in her closet, went to sleep. Her 16-year-old son decided to go in the closet while she was sleeping, would play with it in his room, shot herself in the leg. We did not charge this young lady because she did what she was supposed to do. So is it foolproof? No, especially when you start talking about older kids, right? That know where the gun is, maybe know where the key is. So maybe with that, just making sure that it's secure, that the gun is locked away, that they don't have access to the keys to get into the safe. Make sure we're not putting it in kitchen counters, in our nightstands, anywhere where it's accessible to a kids. And this day and time, I definitely understand the need of homeowners wanting to have the ability to have their guns handy in fear of some type of crime that may be committed upon them inside their homes. I get that, but we have to be mindful of the curiosity of our young ones, and making sure that when we take our eyes off that gun, that we're not giving them the time and the ability to be able to go there and seek out their curiosity. I'm not sure if I answered your question. We don't have a define of what's safe, but we just have to use some common sense along with the law.
And in part of the 54-338, it sets a definition. It says, it shall be unlawful for any person to store or keep any loaded firearm on any premises under their control if he knows or reasonably should know that a minor is likely to gain access. That's the accompanying definition.
Can I add something to that, though?
Yes, please, speak into the mic.
Sheila said, also, it's true, but the only way to make the gun safe, we have the locks, and if you purchase a new handgun, you get the gun lock with it, okay? Getting people to use it. The only way you're gonna be assured positively is that you make it unoperative. Never have it loaded, and where it's unoperative, take the magazine out, lock it back if it's an automatic, and you can put all the gun safety, but if you're gonna have one loaded weapon, you have to be sure that you're the only one who can get to it. Like build a shelf like I did when my kids were little.
Right.
Build a shelf in the closet where I gotta stand on something to get it. Okay, so it's an emergency, you can get it. But there's, child can't get it. So the only way to be sure 100% that weapon is safe, where it's not gonna be able to be operative, and the child would have to load it, put a magazine in, rack it back, or put the bullets in a revolver. That's the only way, 100%. Period.
Thank you.
Councilmember Green.
I'm sometimes struck by some of the things that I read and some of the comments that I hear of people can't separate the right to bear arms from the right to bear arms irresponsibly. And that's what we have, for example, in too many situations where people just leave their guns out, including leaving in the car, or including leaving in other areas where they can be accessed by other people. You do have laws that you have to respond to even as you're bearing your arms. For example, this city council recently passed an enhanced penalty for those who have their weapons stolen and don't report them. That's an important part of the process. You have the right to bear those arms, but you have a responsibility to follow the laws that are associated with responsible gun ownership. I was struck by the story of the 6-year-old who shot the teacher recently, but that the guardian or parents said, but we had our gun stored responsibly. I'm going to use my words carefully because it involves legal matters, but in my opinion, clearly not. If a 6-year-old got it and there was no lock on it, and that 6-year-old was able to bring it to a school and then chose to shoot a teacher, that's irresponsible gun ownership. Separate the right to having a gun or a firearm, because it's important to recognize, it's a technical legal term, from bearing that arm irresponsibly. And I think that that's what this does. And this city council is focused on responsible use of guns, responding to laws that will help keep us safe. We've had too many young people in our city's history shot using weapons that were found in their homes. We have a responsibility that I think that we're going to address over time with some of the things that we've done, that recognizes that there are too many young people who are getting killed with guns anyway in our city. We had a shooting just last night in the St. Rock area of a 14-year-old, a recent 14-year-old who was found dead on a driveway, in the 5th district. We've had 11 teenagers killed in New Orleans since the beginning of the year. So just in general, people separate the right to own a gun from owning it irresponsibly. And let's go about the job of saving our young people from any harm whatsoever. I appreciate the work that you all do as members of the New Orleans Police Department, because I know that you see a lot. I read a lot, but I know you all see it. You see the injuries to children. You see the devastation that families are caused by the loss of someone or the injury of someone who is young, who got a gun that they shouldn't have gotten. Please, public, focus on the reason that the city council is so involved is because we want to focus on responsible ownership. So Councilman Thomas, I commend you, and I see that it's by request. So I commend those who made this request.
Absolutely.
Because it is something that we need to focus on. I think the future is better as we continue to educate and that we continue to put these laws in place. So thank you, Health Department and New Orleans Police Department. Again, to the public, responsible gun ownership.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edward Parker. Any online comments? Okay.
Good morning,
Good morning, Mr. Parker.
and want to thank you, Councilman Thomas, for presenting this. And also, we're not knocking the ordinance. All we're saying is, please, can we add gun safety to this? Because that would make a very, very, very a really important addition to those locks. And we at the United Front, we have a couple people in our group who are certified, and we'd like to help you guys. Gun safety along with the locks. Thank you.
Okay, and at the next criminal justice meeting, we're going to ask the United Front to present their plan and some of the stuff you guys are working on.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you very much. Guys, just the statistics alone say that Louisiana, I think too often we forget our history. Louisiana is in the top 4 or 5% for several decades. When you talk about incarceration, violence per capita here in New Orleans, I think we often look at the homicide rate, but not the number of people who are shot actually accidentally or intentionally. So thank you two from NOPD for not only moving this forward, but doing the work that I think takes us away from being the least restrictive, but actually the highest rates to step in the right direction. Do we need to move move this to the entire council?
Oh, this
Yeah.
calendar number, you can approve it and recommend it.
Before I move to approve, also, Councilmember Morel isn't here, but he has been one of the leaders when you talk about lock boxes and safety. He has illness in his family. So this is probably, he could ask if he wants his name added or all council members added, but I'm sure if he were here, he would strongly agree and talk about gun safety, as Mr. Parker said, as well as the gun education that Dr. Vegnos talked about. So with that, I move. Councilmember Harris seconds. All in favor? Aye. So move to the entire city council. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Ms. Curran.
Would you like to go to the approval of the minutes?
Yes. Move approval of the minutes of the February 7th meeting. Second by Councilmember King. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. So ordered. Next item.
We have a motion M23I. This is a motion to approve a proposed amendment number 2 to a professional services agreement between the city and American Traffic Solutions to assist the police department by approving traffic safety program management services to the city for a 19-month period with a total compensation amount not to exceed $11.3 million.
Good morning, council members. Courtney Story, Chief Administrative Office. This contract is for the red light camera and school zone camera program. It is an amendment to bring us current through the end of 2023. It'll be the second amendment to the original contract. I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Any questions from the dais? This is Traffic Solutions. Explain the particulars of this, because there was some confusion with the press and asked for interviews, and some thought that this was the a lot of the civilian support that would be given for minor felonies and traffic stops. Some of the press thought it was especially the initiative by Councilmember Moreno, who wanted to make sure that civilians were doing some of the jobs to relieve our men and women on the police department. But this is totally different. This has to do with cameras and traffic. Explain that, please.
Absolutely. This is not that. This is the red light cameras and the school zone photo enforcement tickets. This contract, we subcontract with American Traffic Solutions to provide those services. The revenue that they generate from the collections of those tickets comes back to the city in whole, and then we pay them 27% of the revenue for maintaining the cameras and issuing the citations. All citations are reviewed by NOPD for accuracy before they're issued. These citations also have an $8 payment, or I'm sorry, a $5 payment that goes to the Indigent Public Defender Fund for each violation.
And this is a continuing program, correct?
Yes, this has been, the contract was initially started in 2017. The first term was 5 years. We did a 1-year extension, and now we're asking for a 19-month extension, only to bring it to the end of the calendar year, so we don't have to renew in the middle of the year. It just makes it easier on all of us. So
And
we'd be,
And what's the DBE component of this, or is there one?
I will have to check. I'm not sure. It's whatever was in the original contract.
Okay, well, have that prepared when it comes before the entire
Absolutely.
council. Okay, moved by the chair, seconded.
Councilmember, we have a couple of online comments.
Online comments, please, first.
First comment is from Morgan Stalder. Please, can you please post a link to the contract? What specific services are being provided for this $11 million? Next comment is from Jim Goodwin. Any measures to mitigate the appalling lack of traffic enforcement should be strongly supported in New Orleans due to the current manpower issues in the NOPD, and the renewed use of automated traffic enforcement should be recommended. In prior discussions with council members, I've been told ATE is not effective. This is contradicted by the CDC, the NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the NDSL, National Conference of State Legislatures, IIHS, Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, GHSA, Governor's Highway Safety Association, and the Congressional Research Service. Reductions in deaths, injuries, and property damage would result in reduced auto insurance premiums. And the last comment is from Candace Taylor. Good morning. My name is Candace Taylor with the New Orleans East Restoration Project. While I'm not completely familiar with this process, my ask is that Hain Boulevard be included in any upcoming traffic safety program management plans, including traffic cameras to encourage motorists to drive at or below the speed limit, and more NOPD presence running radar. Hain Boulevard continues to be utilized for excessive speeding, traffic accidents, and fatalities. We're very concerned with the safety of pedestrians, motorists, and cyclists. Thank you.
Thank you. And on that note, it has been obvious in that many major traffic intersections and thoroughfares that red light, stop sign, yellow light, green light doesn't really mean anything. Areas like Hain Boulevard, Crowder, Reed, as well as Poydras downtown in Loyola, folks seem not to pay attention to the lights at all. And so I would hope at some point, like there's going to be gun safety education, that there's an initiative about the traffic laws. It has a lot to do with the rates we pay here. It has a lot to do with public safety, because I don't know the official numbers on accidents. Maybe you could have that prepared for the council members here. But I'd like to know, since now people don't obey any traffic laws, what are we looking like with accidents? What are we looking like with fatalities or major injuries because of accidents? Because just about every stoplight, stop sign I'm at, we see people they just keep on driving and they'll drive around you. So, Councilmember King.
If you could keep in mind the Bell Chase and Plaquemine Parish, the Bell Chase Bridge is about to add a toll, I believe $7. So that's going to discourage a lot of travelers from taking that bridge. And the only alternative route to the CBD to downtown is General de Gaulle. Is already a highway. I mean, there's already a place where people disobey the speed limit. So I could just imagine having an influx of Bell Chase, Plaquemine Parish drivers coming through Algiers to just increase the amount of people disobeying the speed limits and traffic laws on the Gulf. So if you keep that in mind when moving forward, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Moved again by the chair, seconded by Councilmember Harris, to move this to the full council. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. So ordered. Ms. Curran.
You want a motion for adjournment?
Moved by, well, what a solid meeting. Yeah, moved by Councilmember Harris, second by Councilmember King. All in favor? The meeting is adjourned. God bless everyone. Everyone have a good one, and thank y'all for participating.